At Suna, we use postural principles to get your body working right so that we can correct your body, correct function, and make sure that you don't get any injuries or exacerbate any pre-existing injuries. Now, with our postural principles, we always start at the feet with leg tracking. And if you have any problems in the feet, the ankles, the knees, the back, leg tracking is going to be an issue for you. So what does leg tracking mean? If we squat down, ideally, our knees point in the same direction as our toes. If my toes point out, when I bend my knees, they need to point in the same direction as the toes. If the knees do not point in the same direction as the toes, we're creating a lot of torque through the lower leg, which then moves up through the upper leg, and this can create issues with knees, issues with shin splints, issues with ankles, and issues with the low back and spine and higher. So, leg tracking simply means that our knees point over our toes. If we're standing up straight and you notice that your knees turn in, and this is very common for people who sit too much and who cross their legs all the time. If you notice your knees turn in, we have a little trick called tattoos out. If you imagine little tattoos on your inner thighs and externally rotating those, you'll notice that the arch of the foot lifts up a bit. And you'll notice now that if you bend your knees will now track over your toes. So, if your knees turn in, think tattoos out. You're going to feel this in the bum and the external rotators around here. Good for lifting the bum, good for lifting the legs, but really great to keep any tension out of the legs and the back. The next postural principle we have is pelvic positioning. And if we just turn side on, there are two main pelvic positions that we try to correct. The first is a sway back. So if you sway that pelvis forward, we put a lot of pressure on the low back by anyone who sways the pelvis forward. And it tightens through the back of the leg without actually strengthening, and it opens up the front of the quad. So we work the front a bit too much and not the back. So being aware that the pelvis is back over the heels is really important. Notice where your body weight is. If you were to squat, is your body weight forward on your toes? If it is, we're not working the right muscles. So the key is always to bring the weight back a bit into the heels, and then you can feel the bum. And once again, it's really great to feel the butt, because when we sit down, we're not using it. We're lengthening all those muscles and switching them off. So if we sit down too much, my front muscles, my hip flexors get tight and the back muscles stop working. And when I stand up, I end up with our second posture we try and correct, which is a bit of an anterior or a forward tilt in the pelvis. To correct this, we can put our fingers on our pubic bone and our palms on our hip bones, pubic bone and hip bones. And we can pull pubic bone to belly button to try and get these 3 points flat on our frontal plane. So if you notice that the back feels quite extended, and if you look down and notice the hips are forward of the pubic bone, tilt pubic bone to belly button. Center yourself back a little more towards your heels, and you'll notice that the low abs are working just to hold you there. If you have any back problems like aching or sharp pain, correcting this pelvic posture will also help with your back. Our third principle is really our breathing. And breathing comes from the rib cage. So our lungs are in the upper back here, and we want to move the rib cage to get our breathing as efficient and effective as we can. We like to do our workouts with a high oxygen saturation, and this actually increases our cardiovascular fitness. So this is cardiovascular work. If you pop your hands on your rib cage, as we inhale, we're always going to inhale through the nose. The ribs are going to expand. You can see the fingers pulling apart. And as we exhale, we blow out through the mouth. Exhaling, closing the ribs. That's it. So it's inhale, open the ribs. And exhale, close the ribs. Now, on the exhale, we also use this time to activate our lower abs. So if you move your hands down to your low abs, now these abs are between the belly button and the pubic bone. If you poke your fingers in there and cough, you'll feel the abs jumping, and these transverse abdominals run across the lower abdomen. They can't be worked like the rectus abdominis just by moving forward. You actually have to pull them in to work them, and they're linked right through the pelvic floor as well. So working the lower abs is phenomenal for many reasons, and our gut health as well. So on the exhale, this time, not only are we going to close the rib cage, we're going to imagine pushing all the air out and deflating those lower abs. So you're going to think belly button to spine. Inhale through the nose, expanding the ribs. Exhale through the mouth, closing the ribs, deflating the abs in, sinking it in. Inhale through the nose, expanding the ribs. And exhale through the mouth, closing the ribs, deflating the abs in. Now the last part of our breathing is to add a sound, and the sound we use is shh. This sound is actually very tonifying or toning and lifting for this area of the face. Yay! The sound also gives us resistance for our breath. And resistance for the breath means we're going to work all of our abs with every exhale we do. And we do a lot of exhales within one session. So, inhale through the nose, opening the ribs. Exhale with a loud shush. And we close everything up. Inhale through the nose. And exhaling. Can you feel more ab work there? So we're actually working the entire abdomen just by making the shush sound. What this means is that you don't just work the abs with your sit-ups. And if you work forward every day over a computer or spend a lot of time sitting and working forward, sit-ups are the last thing you want to do to correct posture. That just makes it worse. So by using this Suna breathing technique, we actually work the abs with every exhale in every workout. All right. Our next principle is really about our shoulders. So if you've ever had any shoulder issues or nerve issues down through the arms, it's very important you understand where the shoulders should be placed. So first thing we want to think about is having the shoulders down. When you're stressed, often the body stops making enough stress hormone, and so the body lifts the shoulders so you can make some more stress hormone. And if you lift the shoulders for 30 seconds, you actually start creating stress hormone. The antidote? Laugh. Instant endorphins. So, if we lift our shoulders up towards our ears, this is what we don't want to see. We always talk about pushing our shoulders down from our ears or moving our armpits down towards our hips. We can even think of moving the shoulder blades down into our back pockets, maybe each shoulder blade down into the opposite back pocket. Now, with the shoulders, not only do we want to keep them down, we want to keep the chest open. We don't think of squeezing the shoulder blades together, because if we squeeze the shoulder blades, it pops our rib cage out and gets the back working again. So we always think of just opening the chest. Imagine pulling the nipples apart. It's a much more gentle sensation, but it doesn't disrupt the rib cage placement. So how would we be aware of these shoulders? If we were reaching out to do a row, to do a pull, we would make sure that as we pulled back, our shoulders stayed down and our chest stayed open. If we didn't keep our shoulders down and our chest open, especially as we're going for more resistance or more weight, we can actually cause ourselves an injury in the upper body. So if we reached forward and we allowed our shoulders up and in, and then we pulled back and we allowed them to come up again, we're not patterning the body in the way that makes it happy. So always shoulders down, chest open. Our last principle is really our neck and head positioning. And it's always lengthening up through the top back of the head. Imagine that we have pulled you up through the tips of the ears or pulled you up from a string at the crown of the head. It works really well when we imagine it with shoulders down and neck lengthened. Imagine lengthening the neck from both ends. And what it should feel like is almost a turtle coming out of its shell, or a rocket blasting off. It is the length that we are after. If you imagine when standing, feet are forward, tattoos are out, weight back a little more on the heels than most people are used to. Pubic bone to belly button to spine, chest open, shoulders down and neck extended. Imagine lifting the rib cage up off the pelvis. Imagine lifting the head up off the shoulders. And what you will feel is tightness in a thigh. You'll feel the butt working, you'll feel the abs working, you'll feel the shoulder girdle stabilizers working. Because in this position, we're working the muscles that were made to hold us upright, not these muscles. If I'm in my incorrect posture, I'm not streamlined for gravity. This allows me to stand upright against gravity a lot longer than this posture. So posture is really important just from the basis of not wasting energy. All right, so feet forward, tattoos out, knees bend over toes, pubic bone to belly button to spine. Weight back a little more towards your heels, not so that you overbalance, but so you can feel your butt. Chest is open, shoulders are down, neck is lengthened. Now, every exercise we do, these are the postural principles we're going to be reminding you of. Whether you do a sit-up, whether you do a push-up, or whether you do a pull-up, a lunge, or a squat, all of these exercises are done correcting your posture. Enjoy your workouts.